Hello, I'm John Burgh. Welcome to my place of business here in Harmony, Pennsylvania. Burgh Implement. We have thousands of tractors for parts here. And that's what I do every day. But it's been a family business since 1939. So we've been here, and I kind of grew up here doing this sort of thing. But I also am a musician, and I loved the Hammond B3 organ and played it during college. I was classically trained, but also played jazz and blues. And I've just kept at it for all these years, besides working, playing a lot of gigs around town and with bands. The Billy Price Band, Gathering Field, for many years. And we recorded with this organ on about 5 CDs with the Gathering Field. And I still perform. Yes, I love to bring the organ out for when it's needed for many different occasions. Anybody who loves the B3 knows how special it is. And I have several, but this is my main one that I use with the Leslie speaker. Yes.
John Burgh, we are indebted to you for agreeing to play such an important role at this remarkable location of Burgh Implement in the series honoring the late Don Polito. John, how did you know Don Polito?
Well, I got to know him because any kind of a old instrument like this, sooner or later, going to need repaired. And he was so well known in the Pittsburgh area that I was able to get in contact with him, and in his shop there in Bellevue. And I could take my organ. Actually, I would take my speaker there, my Leslie speaker, and he showed me how to sometimes I wouldn't need to take the entire thing there. I could just take the amplifier out of it and take it to him to get some tubes replaced or some sort of electronics in there.
Would I be right then that you actually learned from Don Polito?
Yes, I learned things about my equipment that I hadn't known because he was so knowledgeable. He had worked for many years for the Horns Company as the main Hammond organ technician. And so he knew everything there was to know about it.
Mm-hmm. But it's interesting, I think, to me and to the viewers, given what you do here for a living at Burgh Implement, where you obviously have profound foundation with mid-20th century analog machinery.
Right.
So the fact that you would have that kind of capability, but you still learn stuff from Don Polito about the Hammond equipment.
Yes.
Is it fair to say that there are some similarities in maintaining that period Hammond machinery and what you're doing here at Burgh Implement? Are there some similarities?
I would say there's some similarities. Yeah, you have to sometimes oil something in the organ, once a year. And in the speaker, there's things about it you have to maintain every year. Put a little oil drop or two in the motors. And yes, very, very similar.
Several people that have testified about Don have mentioned that Don was generous with his knowledge. They learned things from Don about their own equipment, that he was not secretive, that he was sharing.
That's right. Very, very knowledgeable. You could ask him anything and he'd show you and tell you things that you could do to save money. I mean, you wouldn't have to spend a lot of money. He'd tell you what it needed. And anytime I had something repaired, it wasn't that expensive.
Is it fair to say that you and Don were friends?
I would say we were friends. I could call him and he knew I was, and he'd say, yeah, come on, stop by, bring whatever you need. And he was always busy, but you could leave something there, he'd get right to it. Yes.
John, if I'm right, you own a handful, maybe more, of period Hammond organs, Leslie speakers. How many do you own?
Oh, I think about a half a dozen. And so but this is my main one that I use. But if I needed to, I could probably use a couple others or put some somewhere if somebody wanted to borrow something, sure.
Is it true that the Hammond organ at which you are now seated, did Don Polito repair this organ?
Yes, Don repaired this once or twice when it needed something, but you know, they're very durable, and even though I move mine around a lot, it's not like it breaks down every year, no.
If I recall right, there were instances, John, when you would provide your Hammond equipment, Leslie speakers, in sort of a backline way for some visiting, well-known talents. Am I right about that?
Oh yes, there used to be a club in downtown Pittsburgh called Dow's on 9th, and he would bring in from time to time kind of some well-known artists. One of them was Jimmy Smith. Another time it was Joey DeFrancesco, who was a virtuoso on the Hammond. And when Jimmy Smith was coming into town, I was a little nervous because I wanted it to be just right. You know, didn't want anything to break.
Would it be true, John, that Jimmy Smith was known for being quite exacting and very quick to sniff out problems in the hardware?
Oh yeah.
It was not to his liking?
Oh yeah. He'd want it, because you know, he's a performer, so well known. And I mean, this was probably in the 90s, but Jimmy Smith had been popular for over 30 years, sold millions of records,
Yeah.
you know, yeah.
And did you loan an instrument to Jimmy Smith?
I did.
For Dow's on 9th?
I took this down to Dow's on 9th. And in fact, I think Don Polito had an interest in seeing him. So I invited Don to come down when we were setting up, and just to make sure everything was working properly. And then Don stayed for the concert, and I think he really enjoyed it. Yeah.
John, Don Polito was pretty well known as a player. Don was hired talent to come in to entertain.
Yeah, he was a very good player, you know, kind of an old school player, yes.
And you might recall that the way the series came about is that Don was playing at my studio and filmed on what was to have been a service call. And many of the people that have seen those videos are really struck by the degree to which Don had invested his heart in his playing. Do you see that when you watch Don play?
Oh, yes, yes. And, you know, I know for a fact that, you know, he performed around Pittsburgh in local venues, but then also he kept up with his playing because, you know, back when he would work for horns, he would have to go into homes and churches and set up organs and try them out, you know, so he would perform and make sure everything was up to specs, yes.
Something that I was struck by in Don's visits to my studio was that Don's training predated quite substantially the era of digital audio recording. But Don just loved it. And the day we recorded what is seen in the video, Don was so engaged to be wearing the headphones and to hear. He had not previously performed in a headphone mix, and he just loved that. Do you agree that Don, although an old world cat, was open to new eras and new ideas?
Oh, much so, yes. I would say he kept up with the time just in listening to music and being around music, sure. Mm-hmm.
What do you miss most about Don?
Well, I miss being able to just call him up and say, hey, what are you doing? Can I stop by and show you something, see if it needs fixed, or if you're able to? And he would often say, yeah, sure, I'll be gone this day because I'm working at a church, but come the next day and I'll be here. Yep.
Thank you, John.
Thank you. Great.